On News and Views this morning, and we are staying with what is unfolding in Palestine, in Gaza, Rafah in particular. And for the second time, we've heard on Monday that South Africa petitioning the International Court of Justice for Israel's its genocide campaign against the people of Gaza to seek an order by the court to stop this looming assault. And we know it's already taking place, and also at the same time, South Africa, in its submission, saying that it was gravely concerned that this offensive in Rafah would violate the Genocide Convention and asked the court to consider issuing additional provisional measures against this Zionist entity. To unpack all of this, we are now joined by social activist Hassen Lorgat with the Palestine Solidarity Alliance. Hassan, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome.
Walaikum salam, and thank you for having me.
Yes, it is clear that South Africa knew that this was going to happen, and this is the reason why South Africa now petitioning the ICJ for the second time. We brought the case against Israel, the case of genocide, the measures that were proposed by the ICJ that they had issued. We knew Israel were not going to abide by this in the absence of calling for a full-blown ceasefire, and they will continue with this assault, with the brutality and carnage, Hassan.
Yeah, Brother Inayat, I think that, it's good that we give our government credit, but we know that the attacks on Palestinians did not start now and has been there for a very, very long time. In fact, the attacks on Rafah itself, it's not the first time. A few years ago, they also attacked Rafah, killing close to 350 odd people. So these regular mowings of the lawn, as Israel called them, are meant to weaken the resolve of Palestinians to fight for their own homeland, if you like, fight back to get their homeland. So in a way, when South Africa took the court case, when it was arguing before the ICJ, it told the ICJ that almost 24,000 people, according to the health authorities, were killed. There was a destruction of the population, and so on. That is when it argued the case. Today, the figure stands over 28,000. There is 4,000 people more from the time South Africa alerted this human rights court. So clearly, for me, I stand proud of our government for what it's doing, but I can't help feeling that the world is looking the other way. Of course, others are coming by slowly. New Zealand, Canada, some of the Commonwealth countries are trying to say, listen, maybe not Rafah, now you are affecting our sense of being. But, we can't kick them out. But, the fact that they've come late is welcomed, but we also saddened that they came so late. The president of the USA clearly is fighting a battle to show that he's more Zionist than the Zionists. He keeps saying to them that if there was no Israel, the Americans would have had to create it because of the role that Israel plays in the Middle East. For them, it is the policeman in the region to make sure that the resources held by Arab and Muslim countries could be used for imperialist USA and its allies. So I think the bitter enders, as we say in South Africa, those who remain outside. Germany, even they have said inside Israel, the Germans said, hey, listen, you can't do this. But Germany remains staunchly hostile for justice of Palestinians, and the United Kingdom. Two of them have been really, really bad when it comes to this. So for me, Inayat, I think that the difficulty is that, yes, Amnesty's brought out a report that mostly families are being killed, wiped out. In fact, on the 13th, they said 95 people, 42 children, right, were killed in 4 attacks by the Israelis. Now, what is a tragedy here is that Israel asked people to move there, asked them to move there as a safe zone. And it's clear to everybody Israel wants to, to depopulate Gaza, wants to take it over, and the resources that lay on Gaza's shores is what they're eyeing. And also, they want to try and have control over the minuscule populations of, of Palestinians that may remain. So they're trying to kill people, there'll be dead people under the rubble, and they're prepared to take that risk. Netanyahu clearly is saving his own skin, what's left of it, because clearly the man's a coward. My big concern in that, if you're ready to go there, is the enablers back home in our country. In all the countries, we'll have to look at it. If I were in UK, I would look at what the Jewish Board of Deputies, what the Zionist Federation, and others are doing. The chief rabbi here has played quite a destructive role, and he was rightfully admonished by Jews for Free Palestine. They basically said to him that he's unelected, that he's a genocide enabler, and he can take his 100,000 letters from kids here, to the soldiers. Clearly, it's a stunt that has no bearing. But he was brought down to size by other Jewish people who said that he enables genocide. Others in this country are the people from the Brenthurst Foundation. Uh, Greg Mills and his colleague there, they have been spewing out vile comments against the judgment. And basically, they, alongside Franz Cronier, the former CEO of the of the South African Institute for Race Relations, they have basically tried to downplay the ICJ ruling. The ICJ ruling is important, and what Zane Dango and Mr. Pando and others will be doing today at the ICJ is important, because what that court case signified, that Israel cannot be untouchable any longer. That people know that those who have suffered at the hands of Nazis.
I think we've got a slight problem with Hassan Lorgat. He's just frozen. We're going to try and get hold of him once again. And I think the key issue here is looking at this whole South African uh, call once again, and this appeal that has gone out to the ICJ, that they need to obviously do something with a sense of urgency. And this is where the problem actually lies in the absence of a ceasefire, or the ICJ calling for a complete ceasefire. We knew this was going to happen, and South Africa has realized how serious the situation is, and we see how it is actually unfolding in Rafah as we speak right now. And situation is not good on the ground at this point in time, and South Africa will do what it takes, and to the extent that even the International Relations Minister, Dr. Naledi Pandor, made it very, very clear in
Right.
December. Yes, Hassan, I believe you are back, but I just can't see you on screen at this point in time.
Yes.
Hopefully, yeah. But I think what we do is, yeah, okay, there we go. Yes, Hassan, you can continue.
Yeah. Sorry, man. Load shedding is not of my making. Just come out of it. What I was saying, that the court case had a lot of significance, and the significance for us is that Israel is no longer untouchable, right? And it seems that they have learned the wrong lessons of history, that those who've been vilified historically, the Jews, the wandering Jews, in fact, the Jewish people have taught us a lot about resistance. They have not learned those lessons. Instead, what they've learned the lessons of aggression and violence. So the court case has been very significant. But then you find some of these detractors of ours basically say, like Franz Cronier, he says that the ICJ case was a brilliant display of stigmatization and propaganda, right? And that we were not interested in winning or losing. We were just interested in the propaganda value. Now, that is such crap, because the government has been so consistent. In fact, some of them, like the South African Jewish report, says that this is kind of electioneering, and they basically have gone against the ruling party, whom saying that the people must vote against the ANC. And this is what is at play in our country now. And this is what our listeners and viewers have to actually take stock of. The ANC has made a number of mistakes and has also done immense good for the country. But one of the things that they've done that makes me personally very proud is that they stood for the rights of those who are marginalized. This is the tradition that we come from. This is the tradition of resistance that I think we need to keep up. And having made this start, we must not allow our government to shy away from calling out others in the DRC or anywhere else who violates basic human rights.
Yes, but also I think what is interesting to note is this latest request that has come through from South Africa. It would be quite interesting to see how the ICJ will actually look at this, considering that, yes, they did not call for a full blown ceasefire, but what the court had recognized the rights of Palestinians to be protected from acts of genocide, Hassan.
Yeah, I mean, I was also of the view that they had not called specifically for a ceasefire, but in effect, they have called for it because you can't do all those other things by doing what Israel does. You can't kill children, you can't kill women, you can't kill old men and women, you can't bomb buildings to try and rescue one person. I mean, it's just crazy. Israel has got a lot to answer for, but what they have lost, right? They've lost this idea that they are untouchable. They've lost this idea, they and the Americas and the UK, the duplicity around human rights has been exposed. We all know they don't stand for rights of everybody. They, in fact, some of the liberals that support who've attacked us, like the race relations people, they stood for a qualified franchise. You know, they wanted black people to have properties and education before they could vote. They were so anti-democratic. So really, I don't have time for these liberals who only see justice when a white person has been aggrieved. We, on the other hand, are aggrieved when any person, any human being suffers at the hand of a bully.
Yes, and also, Hassan, when one looks at this latest attack on Rafah, it is clear that this is a sign of desperation on the part of the Zionist entity, on the part of Netanyahu. He knows that world opinion, global opinion on the ground is not with Israel. It is not with the Zionist entity. He knows for the clear fact that he hasn't achieved whatever his objectives were for Gaza at this point in time. He hasn't even got to a stage where he's even dismantled Hamas as a military wing. All of this, Benjamin Netanyahu knows, and he's got a lot of pressure coming from within Israel as well, from his own people. And all of this put together tells us that this is one desperate man who will go at any length to try and achieve his objectives. But we know that ultimately he is going to fail. He's going to be a dismal failure.
But Inayat, I'm not a military man, but I must tell you, my sense is that this is the end game. He wants to end up with a victory. So they supposedly rescued two hostages, and they want to see if they could depopulate Gaza further. They've damaged all the places where Palestinians should be living. I think that Palestine will need 20, 30 years more will take 20, 30 years more just to recover. So if his aim was to cause harm and damage the lives and aspirations of Palestinians, he's gone a long way in that regard. I don't think we should underplay that. It is like after many war zones, not one. You know, and so he's achieved a lot in that regard. But in terms of the better values, and this is the point where you're going at, Inayat, the better values of being a human being, even as a fascist. What is his better side? He hasn't got a better side. So in that way, I think they've been exposed. They've got fascists in their cabinet. They've got all those people that were once even in Israel considered racist in the cabinet, and they're killing people on the West Bank. So we must be focused on Rafah, but you must not ignore the numbers of people that have been killed in the West Bank and in Jerusalem. This is an attempt at seeing how much they can advance their ethnic cleansing in this wave of mowing the lawn. So in that way, people in Jerusalem, there's no eyes on Jerusalem, there's no eyes on the West Bank, but we know the numbers are over 400 people in the West Bank that have been killed. So, and they're trying to demoralize people. And as an activist far away, not seeing the real life death, I must tell you, some mornings I feel a big pain. How do I get my spirits high? Because I have not seen such cruelty in my life, nor in a movie. I have not seen it anywhere. And this is the kind of people we're dealing with.
Well, Hassan, we would have loved to engage a lot more, but unfortunately, time is of the essence. But Jazakallah for your time once again this morning with us right here on Salam Media. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Hassan Lorgat with us this morning, and with it, we're going to go for a break. We come back, we'll be joined by Booby Solomons.